Alrighty, welcome everybody to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship, our roundtable. Tonight we are going to be talking about mythological creatures, which of course that can entail quite a bit of things, so we'll kind of break it down a little bit. But before we do that, let's go ahead and say hello to everyone. And on the panel today, and we'll do our normal stuff, and then we'll get into it. Ooh, I'm getting some lag. Yeah, I'm getting quite a bit of lag. I'm gonna try something, see if this will help. I'm working on getting this. Is that better? It feels like it's coming back. Okay, can you hear me now, Marcia? Okay. Yeah, I think I had both the other YouTubes open, so I think that was the issue. But as soon as I closed those out, it seemed to for those that latency or whatever that was dropped off. So apologize everybody for that. But yeah, let's get into our hellos and we'll do a little housekeeping and then we will get to the episode. So I'll throw it over to you, Marsha. Welcome, sister. Shabbat shalom. Good to see you. What
That's it.
are you excited about talking about mythological creatures at all?
Oh, I'm so excited.
I got tons to share.
About
It's not
Cyclops.
there's not a ton of videos. I don't have a ton of videos to share. I got a
I
few, but I
know.
have a ton of like literature to read. And I actually went back, if y'all remember, we did that episode about that book we found, the Natural Historius or whatever, and found some stuff in there we're gonna share as well. So it's gonna be
They
definitely
say
jam
they
packed. It'll
can't
be
hear
fun.
me.
They can hear you now. They have to be
Oh,
able to.
oh,
Let's see. We'll
it's
we'll
okay.
wait for
They-
confirmation. Yeah, okay.
Oh, there you
Tyler
go.
said we're good. Okay, so sweet. Well, welcome, sister. I hope you are excited. It's gonna be fun for sure. I believe. I'm not sure where Robert is. Hopefully, maybe he joins. Maybe he took a late nap and he overslept. Who knows? I think maybe Frankie B said something about not coming this weekend or doing something with his family.
don't remember.
So not 100% sure if he's going to be here, but
Hey, you
regardless,
got us.
we got Marcia and we also got Kyle. Welcome, brother. Good to see you. Shabbat shalom.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on again. This is a fun topic. I've always been fascinated with these creatures that have always been, portrayed as things that certainly were living things that influence people's lives, but were obviously told in a westernized version that, they were just simple people making up stupid things. So,
Yep.
yeah, I've always thought it was, a little ridiculous to consider that with every other culture that seemed to make up the same things. And yeah, too many coincidences for me. So I've always loved it, and I'm love to talk about it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's such a key point. And I think that within like fantasy and fiction in general, right? Why is it that humans always have to, at least modern, right? Why do we have such a desire to not only write about these creatures, but like put them in movies and video games to visualize them, right? And there is something intriguing about seeing these creatures and it is kind of what I will say about these creatures. We're gonna be talking about a lot of them, but you know what's interesting is we don't really know if maybe of them weren't hybrids. Like just as an example, a griffin, right? We could assume and say, oh, this must be a created creature. Maybe some of them weren't, right? Maybe some of them were original. They just died over times because they were unique, such unique kind of creatures that they were killed. But I more lean personally on the side that these are like we read in the Book of Enoch in Peace Seekers episode 2 or Book of Enoch part 2, how once men could no longer sustain them, they turned upon mankind, they devoured them, and then they started to defile the birds and the beasts. And we see that through that like kind of judgment, which will be part 3, how through that book of Enoch and through the judgment that God puts upon him and the Watchers and their sons, it's like they become these disembodied spirits, right? These unclean spirits. So of course they would love to create some type of vassal for their sons to be able to inhabit, to be able to interact with them again, per se. So much gravy there, but welcome, brother. Sweet. Okay, let's do just a little housekeeping, and then we will get into it all. I can't stand that it puts that little line over there sometimes. Let me fix that.
Someone was asking if there's a lighthouse link. Is there?
I can drop that link. I don't know if it's
I think you got to drop it in chat.
I don't know if it's going to send it. Here, let's see.
I don't know.
Copy. Video link. Okay, I'm going to drop this. I can't drop it in chat because I had to shut those down for it to stop lagging. Babe, if you would you grab it from announcements? And
the lighthouse link?
Yeah. I'm going to put it under announcements in CEF. And you can just copy paste it into the YouTube chat if you have a second, love. Okay, anyways, let's get into this housekeeping. Let me share some screen.
Oh, you're muted, Vader.
Sweet. Okay, there we go. Thank you for that. All right, so I'd like to take a second to shout out to Chris and Liz Bailey over on Take on the World. We just like to show our gratitude because they allow us to come onto their platform and share our pieces of the puzzle with their family. So we always want to let them know that we very much do appreciate that. And of course, if you don't know, we have our own channel. And if you look up here at the subscription, we're 2 away from being at 1190, and so 12 away from being at 1200. So thank you to all those that just keep trickling in and subscribing. It means a lot. It's definitely helping the channel grow, and so just like the comments and likes and shares, all that, we really, really do appreciate it. And as always, we go back to the last video that we saw or that we streamed, and we read the comments there. So we'll pull those up, we'll read those out and see what if anyone had anything to say. So not only does that support the channel, but you also get your you get to throw your 2 cents in there. So DC Talks says, what is going to be on this one? Not really sure what that is, what that means. Anyone want to say anything to that? I don't know. Joel Pitts 575 said it was Saul the son of Cush calling up Samuel. Thank you. Yeah, and that, how interesting, right? That's the son of Cush as well, and we have this kind of behavior going on. Probably the same line. Wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, guys, thank you for your comments. Again, they do help support the channel. It's a nice free way to do so. And then over here on the on the Circle of the Earth, got Robert from the Grave saying, for years I wondered where did the giants come from after the flood. Then Kingdom in Context Investigating Babylon series explained how Satan used alchemy to create the giants. This alchemy, when used on human fallen angel hybrids, developed fantastical creatures of mythology. When they were used on just humans, developed the crazy task giants. Today, somewhere, they are experimenting again. Yeah, and we'll touch on that at the end of this show, but that's like really prevalent in our next show. And these will kind of go together just like the pictures do. So Sweet. All right. Well, thank you everyone for that, for those comments. If you're interested in joining the panel or joining the community, we do an after show after each episode, roundtable episode. You can click that link in the description of the YouTube video. Join us over there. We get to have a little bit of an uncensored conversation about the topic of the night as well as other topics. So if you're interested in that, join. We do have a merch store, so if you're interested in supporting the channel, this is one way to do it. And I'll talk about another one in just a minute. Over just a couple resources that I'd like to share and suggest. Bible Gateway, great resource. Bible Hub, even a better resource. You got the Lexingtons, the concordances, all the different translations. Definitely check it out. And if you're interested in looking into the Apocrypha, or so-called, for yourself, there is sacredtext.com. They have all those books. Of course, use discernment when you read anything that you're unsure of. But I highly suggest the Book of Enoch, which we are again going through, reading through in the Peace Seekers series, which happens on Sundays. Check out the Book of Jubilees, and we also just finished our series, the Peace Seekers series, on the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. So definitely check that out. Such great books. Okay, sweet. So that is all of that I have to share. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. Do a little reading about what we're talking about in the episode, and then we will get into it. So grab that. Don't think I need any of those else out. Oh, before that. Right now we are also, oops, wrong button. Also, right now we are streaming on Lighthouse. So if you haven't checked out Lighthouse, guys, go check it out. It is a new social market system that is gonna, change a lot of the issues, at least, that us creators have with being demonetized on YouTube and not being able to get supported, and also not necessarily wanting to support the people that do these type of things to people. So I want to shout out to Tracy Jones. She actually became a member, so donating the $5 a month, really appreciate that. And so that's something that's cool. And again, like Sean said, 100% it goes of of it, not 33%. Sorry, not 66%, and they keep the 33%. 100%, and minus the taxes and all that, all those fees. So shout out to Lighthouse for making that a possibility for creators. What was that? I just got a notification. I missed it though. That was probably some subscriber or something like that. If you just subscribed, thank you for that. But yeah, if you haven't created an account over on Lighthouse, go check it out. Now, it is in beta, so they're working out stuff and updating, and lots of changes I'm sure are to come to this. But it's definitely a platform for true seekers, those seeking out the puzzle pieces. So definitely give it a shot. And so, yeah. Don't. Oh. All right, so let's get rid of that. I apologize. Oh, it's still sharing that screen. Let's get rid of that. Stop streaming there. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Perfect. All right. So I want to read a little the description like I've been doing of our video, so we kind of have an idea what we're talking about here. So again, we will be looking into a topic that shows up all across the face of the earth. In modern times, these beasts are thought of as tall tales purely of men's imagination, not creatures that had ever once lived. Although direct material evidence is hard to come by, it is easy to speculate why, as despite such beasts being present within all the various cultures, virtually no fossils or remains of these creatures have been found. Did these creatures exist? Can technology recreate them? Join us as we discuss the topic of mythological creatures and the implications for our and future generations' lives from the perspective of believers seeking the puzzle pieces of truth. So yeah, that's kind of my summary, right? Because as you kind of indicated in the beginning, Kyle, most people view this as something that is just purely tall tale, pure, creations of men's imaginations, nothing that was ever material or real. And I will give them that we don't have any material evidence, right? Like we don't have a body, a skeleton of a griffin, right, with an eagle head and a whole
If
tail.
if we did, we know who would be, keeping it
No,
in there.
we know where it would be housed.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
and yeah, and that is very true, right? And that's easy to see why they would do that, right? Because that would, like giants, like we talked about last week, would completely throw astray their modern understanding of the creation of all these creatures, or i.e. evolution. So, yeah, it would be easy to speculate. Dude, they're probably like, so what this actually is this is a lion that's only half a lion, but it has just so happened to eat a eagle as it was grabbing a fish, in such that they got fused into one creature when the flood came and wiped them all out. You know what I mean? Like, even if they found it, that they would be making excuses about what they were looking at.
And people would believe that because it's too weird to really be real.
Yeah,
So,
and I think a lot of it, right? Like, let's be honest. Everyone knows that the modern atheists or materialistic, they will purposefully avoid those things because
yeah.
the implications that their life has for coming to those truths, to
Right.
coming to those realizations, to humbling their heart to God's wisdom, it's too much for them, right? That's too much. That's
Well, they'd have to change their life. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They don't
It
want
just
to do that.
it destroys their entire model. It throws such a big wrench in it that it's like, well, if we all just do slow changes, randomly evolved into the things we are, it's like, where does a 30-foot person come from, or where does a lion, flying lion eagle thing come from? It's like, you just can't just BS an explanation for it necessarily.
Yeah, and they can't really use it like, see, this is the link between mammals and birds. See,
Right.
They haven't got Lucy the link yet.
Yeah. So like they might, even if they, like, let's say they did find it, even if they used it as, see, like, this is proof of the missing link, like, it would be destroyed, right? We'd be like, oh, this
They're
is the
so
creature
good
it
at
talks about.
They're so good at reverse engineering lies that it's
They gaslight everybody. They just
Yeah, it's preposterous.
Yeah.
So okay, so so with all that being said, let me pull something up real quick. Pull this up. So one of such creatures, and we're gonna talk about it. It's kind of the bigger animal that we see on the thumbnail, even though it's kind of weird what it looks like, right? I get that, but one of those animals, right? And let me share this so everybody can see what I'm talking
I'm looking
about.
at the thumbnail.
What's kind of like the
hell.
it is distorted. It looks chaotic, but the biggest creature on there, when you see it, what do you think of?
I'll have to look again.
I'll have to.
It's like a myth or something, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong.
So I'm gonna pop this on.
It looks like metal. It looks like one of those rock things that off of that Noah movie.
So it's the thing to the
Yeah.
left, the thing with the big wings that kind of looks like a serpent.
What? All right.
What?
I can't look the thumbnail. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyways. So in the thumbnail is a dragon, right? And so dragon is this well-known mythological creature that is within every single culture, almost, if not every single culture in the world. And I kind of wanted to bring this up because we're going to start, kind of late, kind of far back. So, isn't it, y'all ever thought this was interesting how, You got a snake and a horse and a goat and a monkey and a rooster and a dog, a pig, a rat, an ox, a tiger, a rabbit, all real creatures, and then we got a dragon. Supposedly a mythical, non-real creature, right?
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, that's...
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's always been something I was... Every time I ate Chinese food and I looked at their menus with the calendar, I'd be like, yeah, ox, monkey, dog, dragon?
Yeah.
Like,
Dragon.
it just... Yeah, because I haven't seen one of those yet.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so I wanted to show that real quick because back in season 1, we went over this book a little bit, and there's still so much more. I still look through this, guys, because there's literally just so much gravy in this book. It's called Naturalis Historia. But these are accounts now. Of course, there's some grabble writing where it's like, yeah, these people, this isn't true. Don't listen to it because we know it's not true, type of things. But anyways, one of the chapters in here when it's talking about creatures is consequently enough dragons. So we got some Kyle Ethiopian. I'm just joking. I don't know if you got that joke. But we got some Ethiopians produces dragons not so large as those of India, but still 20 cubits in length. The only thing that surprises me, how Juba came to believe that they have crests. The Ethiopians have known as the Asayan, among whom the most abound, and who are told that on those coasts 4 or 5 of them are found twisted and interlaced together, like so many oysers in a hurdle, and thus setting sail with their heads erect, they are borne along upon the waves to find better sources of nourishment in Arabia. And so, listen here. Culver states that in India and America that there are serpents of the genus Boa or Pantheon, 30 feet or more in length. He observed them as various other species of aquatic reptiles in the seas of India, but they are never swim twisted together or have their heads elevated. Elian gives an account of the great size of the dragons in Ethiopia. And so, just real quick, like, there is so much grabble. Like, it's like, nope, these are just purely talking about snakes. When they say dragons, they're talking about snakes. And, yeah, so, but, they have dragon. This is the language that is derived, and then you got this grabble remarks. This is like the Wikipedia pride badges. Sweet. And here's a little story. So it says, remember, this is just a snake, guys. This is a snake that helped. So it says, facts such as these induce us to give some credit to what Democritus relates, who says that a man called Thoas, who was preserved in Arcadia by a dragon. When a boy, he had become much attached to it and had reared it very tenderly. But his father, being alarmed at the nature and monstrous size of the reptile, had taken and left it in the desert. Thoas being here attacked by some robbers who lay in ambush, he was delivered from them by the dragon, which recognized his voice and came to his assistance. But as to what was said respecting infants that have been exposed in nourishment by the milk of wild beasts, as in the case of the founders of our city by a wolf, I am disposed to attribute such cases as these rather to the greatness of the destinies which have to be fulfilled, than to any particularity in nature of the animal themselves. It says the word here signifies simply a serpent. Okay, so so a snake was out there and it came rushing and saved the guy from some robbers. Like, did they have knives? Couldn't they just cut the snake's head off? Like, what was so imposing about this snake that could help them from robbers?
Yeah. You would think a snake may, on accident, bite a robber, and then that robber would have to suffer from, the venom of being bit. But it's like,
Right.
this is a whole main character going over there and saving the day. It doesn't
Yeah, and
seem like
remember,
a
these are
regular thing.
boas. So these are boas, and boas don't have venom, right? They're just
They
big.
don't?
Yeah, oh,
No.
yeah, that's right. No, the boas do not.
So yeah. So a little about the dragon, and so what's interesting to me is they're talking about them like it's like, yeah, everyone knows dragons. They're not the ones as big as the ones in India, but Ethiopia has them, right? And of course, you could be, oh, they're talking about snakes. It's just simply serpent. Interesting enough, because there's a whole separate chapter about that. But as I was going through this, I read a few of these, and there's some really interesting ones. So we're gonna kind of read through these, see what they got to say, and kind of talk about them. So this one's pretty short. It says, it was at the games of Pompeius Magnus that the chama was first exhibited, an animal called Rufus by the Gauls, having the figure of a wolf with the spots of a pard or a leopard. There were also exhibited some animals from Ethiopia, which they called by the Greeks name Aexpoi. The hinder excrements of them, which resembled human feet and legs, while the forefeet were like hands. These animals have not been seen at Rome since that time. So, interesting enough, they just say this is a lynx. The first animal that was described, having the figure of a wolf and the spots of a pard. All right, so the
Human feet and human hands.
well,
though.
that's just a lynx.
Yeah.
And then they say the second one,
That's
it
just
says
the
there
lynx.
were also exhibited some animals from Ethiopia, which they call blah, blah, blah. The hinder excrements of them resembled human feet and legs, while the forefeet were like hands. And they say, no doubt, this description refers to some species of the monkey tribe, but is uncertain to which one in particular. It having been seen only once at Rome shows it was not of the most common kind. Culver, however, explains that it's probable that Pliny may have been incorrect in this. He supposed that it was the Selma Sphinx, blah, 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 according to Aristotle, historian, is merely a monkey with a tail. Also see blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, like even there, they're like, no doubt it was a monkey, right? Because it would have to be a monkey from their perspective. How could it possibly describe anything else?
Right.
It's amazing how in detail all their literature is, how in detail all their illustrations are. It's amazing they can build pyramids that are so old, but they were just stupid, unlearned sheep herders. They didn't know anything. Just come on, man. They were just making stuff up.
Yeah, these guys, traveled all across the earth going through all this dangerous environment just so they could tell people lies. They couldn't possibly just sit at home and make up things, right?
And not all, they tell like 99% truth about everything else they go and encounter in their books, but when they come across the fantastical creature, that's when it becomes a story.
Right. Right.
Right. Okay, yeah, let's see this. I'm going to pull this one.
Oh, just to let you know, Robert just got home from work.
Oh, okay. No worries.
That's why. So.
All right. This was really interesting. Now, we can talk about what it is. Like, this was, again, like, I don't know. But like it says the Syncus, sorry.
I gotta strike that. Stop me for a minute.
What?
He did not go to work. This is Shabbat. He was gone. I don't want to put something out there that isn't right.
Okay, so it says, like the crocodile, but smaller even than the Inuamon, is the Syncus, which is also produced in the Nile, and the flesh of which is almost effectually antidote against poisons, and acts as a powerful aphrodisiac upon the male sex. But so great a pest was the crocodile to prove that nature was not content with giving it one enemy only. The dolphins, therefore, which enter the Nile, have the back armed with a spine, which is edged like a knife, as if for this very purpose. And although these animals are much inferior in strength, they contrive to destroy the crocodile by artifice, which on the other hand attempts to drive them from their prey, and would reign alone in its river at its particular domain. For all animals have an especial instinct in this respect, and are able to know not only what it is for their own advantage, but also what it is to the disadvantage of their enemies. They fully understand the use of their own weapons. They know their opportunity and the weak parts of those which they have to contend. The skins of the belly of the crocodile is soft and thin. Aware of this, the dolphins plunge into the water as if in great alarm, and diving beneath its belly, tear open it with their spines. There is a race of men also who are particularly hostile to this animal. They are known as the Tentritai, from an island in the Nile which they inhabit. These men are of small stature, but of wonderful presence of mind, though for this particular object only. The crocodile is a terrible animal to those who fly from it, while at the same time it will fly from those who pursue it. These, however, are the only people who dare to attack it. They even swim in the river after it, and mount its back like so many horsemen. And just as these animals turn up its head for the purpose of biting them, they insert a club in its mouth, holding which at each end, with the two hands, it acts like a bite, and by these, even as to force it to disgorge the bodies which it has lately swallowed, for the purpose of burial. This island, therefore, is the only place near which the crocodile never swims. Indeed, it repelled by the odor of this race of men, just as serpents are by that of Psyle. The sight of this animal is said to be dull when it is in the water, but when out of the water, piercing in the extreme. It always passes 4 winter months in a cave without taking food. Some persons say that this is the only animal that continues to increase in size as long as it lives. It is very long-lived. So look, and then it's like, this is a small lizard called the modern naturalist, the blah, blah, blah. Like, they instantly go to, like, obviously, we know exactly what this is. Please ignore all the fantastical things you just read. It's simply exaggerations for this modern lizard.
I love how it refers to things like the odor, just as the serpents are by that of the Phyle or whatever that is. It's like, okay, well, what's that? What are they? If they're referring to other real things, did you click on that one? Does that lead to anything? I'm just seeing the 4 there.
You're muted.
So that's down here. It says CBVC2. The best description of the virus is given by the Lucan and B blah blah, where he describes the march of Canto's army across the burning coast of Citrus. Yeah, I did nothing.
I tried looking for anything and I couldn't really find anything. I was just, it's a lot to make up.
I know, and just like it was saying, like in this part right here, which I thought was so interesting, where it says, where is this? For all animals have an especial instinct in this respect, and are able to know not only what it is for their own advantage, but also what it is to the disadvantage of their enemies, right? So, like a cat, right, will wait there and be like, should I go for this or not? Like, okay, it turned its back. Now is the bet. Like, this is when it's the weakest and I'm the strongest. Now attack, right? And it's saying all this. So it gives that and pretext, and then talks about the dolphins that have spines that grow from their backs that are edged like blades that swim under crocodiles and cut their bellies. Like, what are we talking about, right? And this is just, this is all made up. Like they even know about the men on the island and the odor of the men and how the crocodiles stay away from that island. Is there an island in the Nile, guys? I've never heard of an island in the Nile. Have y'all ever heard of an island?
Yeah.
No.
Maybe we should look that up. Maybe someone else in the chat looked it up. But yeah, that kind of blew my mind. And then I think you said it perfect, Kyle. How he was saying like, you know, like this person is like, hey, you know how those one things are so smelly that this thing happens? Well, this creature is just like that. Right? Why would they use something like you already know? It's already common knowledge as an example to explain something that isn't common knowledge. It wouldn't make any logical sense.
Yeah. And it's not written like a story either. All this literature is written like a history book.
Like someone's sitting there looking at it, taking notes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, let's keep chugging. Okay, here's another one. So it says, by the union of the hyena and the Ethiopian lioness, the crocata is produced, which has the same faculty of imitating the voices of men and cattle. Its gaze is always fixed and immovable. It has no gums in either of its jaws, and the teeth are one continuous piece of bone. They are enclosed in a sort of box, as it were, that may not be blunted by rubbing against each other. Juba informs us that the Manicoria of Ethiopia can also imitate the human speech. That's pretty wild, right? So we got some human elements here. We got some type of hyena lioness hybrid that has no gums. It's just one bone on each of its jaws.
Well, you know what? An iguana, I think we had an iguana. It's not got teeth. It's got like one.
I know, but I'm just saying what it's describing here. It's literally saying by the union of the hyena and the lioness, you get this creature.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, can we still do this?
Can we try that? Yeah, is someone gonna? Some probably already has.
And this little grabbler note says we have had some account given of the Manacora. The Manacora and the Corcata are altogether imaginary. Here's just writing this up, guys. This person thinks that the stories of the Catacora and the Catobelapas owe their origin to manipulated accounts of the hyena and the animal known to us as the gnu.
That doesn't account for the imitating human speech?
Yeah. It's all made up. Duh. Remember, do you know what the title of this episode is, Kyle? Do you know what it is?
Yeah. Mythological.
No,
that's right.
No, it's just stories, bro. It's just.
That's right. Just stories.
Just stories, right? None of this is real. It's just
You're
stories.
right.
But I do want to take a quick second and say hello to our brother Robert. Hope you're having a good Shabbat, getting to celebrate with and have some fellowship. Good to see you, brother. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, how are you? Just got back from East Side construction, all that fun jazz. Nephew's graduation party. So
nice.
Hey, Ron, are you live?
Yeah,
on White House?
We're doing it live, baby. We're doing it live.
I may have to tell Beetle how to do the text. Or no, she texted.
Well, it's done. Just funky.
Yep, and that's betas, right? That's what it is for. Is for us to give commentary about what's going on. Well, it's good to see
Yeah.
you, brother. Glad to have you here, and I hope you're pumped to talk about the topic that we were talking
Yeah,
about.
I'm sorry, like you rewind 45 minutes.
No, no worries.
Start over.
But let's keep chugging along. So here's another one. I thought this one was really interesting. So it says there are also two other animals whose urine possess very wonderful properties. We have heard speak of a small animal to which the name of Leotophonos has been given, and which is said to exist only in those countries where the lion is produced. If its flesh is only tasted by the lion, so intensely venomous is its nature, that this lord of the other quadrupeds instantly expires. Hence it is that the hunters of the lion burn its body to ashes and sprinkle a piece of the flesh with powder, and so kill the lion by the means of the ash. Even so fatal to it is this poison. The lion, therefore, not without good reason, hates the Leotophinus, and after destroying its sight, kills it without inflicting a bite. The animal, on the other hand, sprinkles the lion with its urine, being well aware that this too is fatal to it. The urine of the lynx in the countries where the animal is produced either becomes crystallized or else hardens into a precious stone, resembling the carbuncle, and which shines like tire. This is called lycurium, and hence it is that many persons believe that this is the way in which amber is produced. The lynx, being well aware of this property, envies us the possession of its urine, and therefore buries it in the earth. By this, however, it becomes solid as all the sooner. Pretty wild, right? Like, we got these creatures that when it pees, it makes these precious stones, and it's like, oh, this is amber, and they know it. And then we got this other creature that when it pees, it like can kill lions, and if the lion eats it, it kills the lion. And so it's like, it seems so outlandish, the things that it's saying, but it's like, again, why would the person go through all of this stuff to make these statements? Just for no reason. It blows my mind. Thoughts? Alrighty.
This one I don't have too much to say on. I don't think. It's just strange. Yeah.
It's very strange. So here's another one. It says, among the Hesperian Ethiopians is the fountain of Nigris, by many supposed to be the head of the Nile. I have already mentioned the arguments by which this opinion is supported. Near this fountain there is found a wild beast, which is called the Catopolapas, an animal of moderate size, and in other respects sluggish in the movement of the rest of its limb. Its head is remarkably heavy, and it only carries it with the greatest difficulty, being always bent down towards the earth. Were it not for this circumstance, it would prove the destruction of the human race, for all who behold its eyes fall dead upon the spot. Just real quick, it says, the animal Mortego Clover thinks probably that it is an antelope gnu. He remarks as very particular and mournful appearance, blah, blah, blah. They're like, yeah, the thing that can, like, if it reason why it's created the way it does is if it looks at you, you just fall dead. Yeah, that's
just die.
It's just an antelope.
It's hypnotoad. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, this thing's crazy. It can look at you and kill you, but they're like, it was an antelope. I don't get it.
Yeah, and so see, then what they do is say, see, obviously this is false because antelope look up at humans and we're not destroyed. They don't kill us. Therefore, see, this is a lie.
Yeah, that's... But would you know if you ever saw this thing and looked up at you? You know, it's like, yeah, some of these things sound, I guess, like stories from like surrounding tribes in certain areas, but even then, it's like, where did those come from?
Yeah. Yep. So this chapter 31 says terrestrial animals of India. It says there are in India oxen also with solid hooves and a single horn, and a wild beast called the axis, which has a skin like that of a fawn, but with numerous spots on it and whiter. This animal is looked upon as sacred to Bacchus. The Orasian Indians hunt down a kind of ape which has the body white all over, as well as a very fierce animal called the monoceros, which has the head of a stag, the feet of an elephant, and the tail of a boar, while the rest of the body is like that of the horse. It makes a deep lowing noise and has a single black horn, which projects from the middle of its forehead, 2 cubits in length. This animal, it is said, cannot be taken alive. And then it literally is like and says that a similar animal is to be seen on one of the sculptures of this place, right? And then it says, it like comes down here and it says, this is a different one. But this is like, certain knowledge is the rhinoceros. The only horns which I've discovered and which can have single horns belong to it. There are 5 animals mentioned by the ancients as having horns, and the Indian ass, the single-horned horse, the single-horned ox, the monosaurus described in the text, and the oryx of Africa. Okay, so let's say this thing that it's calling, right? It's saying, hunt a kind of wild ape. But no, look, okay, so they're saying it's a rhinoceros, but listen, the Osean Indians hunt down a kind of ape. It's saying it's white over its body, it's as well as a very fierce animal called the monoceros, which has the head of a stag, the feet of the elephant, and the tail of the boar. So wait, is like this describing the monoceros? Like what? Like,
this is silliness. This is just silliness.
Yeah.
What are they? They don't make any sense.
No, but just hear me out. I get what you're saying. I'm getting you like this doesn't make any sense. What I'm trying to say is it says white apes are now unknown as it is extinct species, but in this occasion found nearly without color. But what my point is this part where it says the Indians hunt down a kind of ape which has the body white all over, as well as okay. So that's the ape, and then it says as well as a very fierce animal called the monoceros, which has the head of a stag, the feet of the elephant, the tail of a boar, which while the rest of the body is like a horse. It makes a deep lowing noise and has a single black horn, which projects from the middle of its forehead, 2 cubits in length. This animal is said not to be taken alive. Okay, so this kind of describes a rhinoceros, doesn't it? But listen to this. It says, and has a single black horn, which projects from the middle of its forehead. Rhinoceros are like on the tip of their
noses.
Yeah, they're like right by their noses. They're not at the rhino's forehead.
The rhinos don't also have a 2-cubit horn, I don't think. That's like almost, 3 feet?
Well, rhinos do have pretty big horns, but...
Sounds like a unicorn.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And it says the one-horned or the unicorn. So, yeah, just another interesting, right? We're having these accounts where it's like, well, that sounds like it could be a real animal, right? Even the rhino, that's a description. Rhino's feet look like elephant's feet. Its head, that shape is very much like a stag, but it doesn't have a single black horn that projects from the middle of its forehead. So what is this? I don't know.
I like what Beetlejuice just said. Clown ape.
Okay, so this is chapter. Oh, what were you gonna say, Kyle or Robert?
Nothing.
Okay. It says the Tarandrus, too, of the Scythians changes its color, but this is the case. But this is the case with none of the animals which are covered with hair, except the Lycaon of India, which is said to have a mane on the neck. But with the respect to the Thos, which is a species of wolf, differing from the common kind in having a larger body and very short legs, leaping with great activity, living by the chase, and never attacking man, it changes its coat and not its color, for it is covered with hair in the winter and goes bare in the summer. The Tandrus is of the size of an ox, its head is larger than that of the stag, and not very unlike it. Its horns are branched, its hooves cloven, and its hair as long as that of the bear. Its proper color, which it thinks proper to return to it, is that of the ass. Its hide is of such extreme hardness that it is used for making breastplates. When it is frightened, the animal reflects the color of all the trees, shrubs, and flowers, or of the spots in which it is concealed. Hence, it is that is so rarely captured. It is wonderful. It is wonderful that such various hues should be given to the body, but still more so that it could be given to the hair. So they literally, bro, just go on to say, oh no, this is just the reindeer because it has fur in one season and it loses its fur in the other season. That's literally their thing. And then, oh, but yeah, that part that it's describing is actually just the jackal. Oh, supposes the lichen of the Pilony is just the Indian tiger, which has a mane, but it said of its change color is incorrect. It's just like, see, it says it changes color. That's incorrect. We just know that this is an Indian tiger.
Mm-hmm. Just ignore all the other features and descriptions. We'll pick a couple in there that they described, and just throw them on another animal that are similar.
Yeah, and so this is my kind of point, is with something like this, right? All they have to say is it's just stories. See what you're reading? These people were just mistaken. If they weren't mistaken, they were lying. They were creating fiction and telling people it was real, right? Because if any of these things that were true, again, like I said kind of in the beginning, would contradict so many things. It would contradict evolution. It would contradict their creation model. It would contradict, modern science and modern understanding of so-called mythologies. So
the thing is they're describing chimeras, right?
Who knows? Like, I don't know, but what I'm saying is, like, aren't some, and that's what I said in the beginning, like, I don't know, some of these may be real, maybe these may not be real, but kind of what my point is this is talking about animals in a fantastical way, right? Dolphins that have bones, spikes that are like, knives that are like swords that they use to cut up the bellies of these certain crocodiles that are different and scared of these certain humans. So I'm like, why is all of this information, why is all this detail laid out for us if all of this is mythology? Why in all of these cultures do all of these cultures talk about these creatures, these fantastical creatures, which just coincidentally now are looked at, like I said, as just stories?
Yeah, and I would also ask, why is it not localized, these creatures, to certain regions? It's literally everywhere. It's the exact same creature seen everywhere.
Yeah, or just like a whole bunch of different creatures everywhere, right? That aren't something that are explained and something we can modern see. Because one of the kind of the points that we were talking about last week, right, is that Nephilim and giants, even though that word is kind of interchangeable, There's actually a difference. You got the Nephilim, the direct descendants of the 200 Watchers that came down and produced themselves sons. And then you got the people after the flood, the post-Diluvian, where they were doing things that we see that the tribes of Israel would have to, fight with. So we know we're there. And so, one second. So in the same way, and real quick, back, there was a comment, I forget who it was by, but someone said giant trees, probably giant creatures, right? And so in the same way, I think we're seeing some of these. If these aren't, I don't think these are pre-flood stuff, right? I think these are post-flood stuff that we're particularly reading in this book. And that just kind of shows that trend of this amalgamation, these monstrous kind of things have always existed. It's not something new. It's not something that just people made up. And again, we can see that within the cultures and their different representations as such. Okay, so this one is chapter 30 says the lynx, the sphinx, the corcada, and the monkey. It says Ethiopia produces the lynx in abundance, and the sphinx, which has brown hair and 2 mammal on the breast, as well as many monstrous kinds of similar nature. Horses with wings and armed with horns, which are called Pegasi, and Corcada, an animal which looks as though it had been produced by the union of the wolf and the dog, for it can break many things with its teeth, and instantly on swallowing, it digests it with the stomach. Monkeys too, with black hands, the hair of the ass, and a voice quite unlike that of any other animal. There are oxen too, like those of India, some of them 1 horn and others with 3. The lycata, a wild beast of extraordinary swiftness, the size of the wild ass, with legs of a stag, the neck and tail and the breast of a lion, the head of a badger, a cloven hoof, the mouth slit up as far as the ears, and 1 continuous bone instead of teeth. It is said, too, that this animal can imitate the human voice. Among the same people, there are also found an animal called Ela. It is the size of the river horse, has the tail of the elephant, and is of a black of tawny color. It has also the jaws of the wild boar and the horns that are immovable, and more than a cubit in length, so that in fighting it can employ them alternately and vary their position by pressing them directly or obliquely, according as necessary may dictate. But the wild bulls which in this country produced are the fiercest of all. They are larger than our domestic bull, and exceed all the others in swiftness, are of a tawny color with azure eyes, and the hair turned the contrary way, while the jaws open as far as the ears, and the horns are as movable as those of the eel. The hide of this animal is as hard as flint, and effectually resists all wounds. These creatures pursue all other wild beasts, while they themselves can only be taken in pitfalls, where they always perish from excess of rage. Sidorus informs us that among these same Ethiopians, there is an animal found which is called the manticora. It has a triple row of teeth which fit in each other like those of a comb, each face and ears of a man, and azure eyes, is the color of blood, has the body of the lion, and a tail ending in a sting, like that of the scorpion. Its voice resembles the union of the sound of the flute and the trumpet. It is of excessive swiftness, and is particularly fond of human flesh. Thoughts? What do y'all think?
Wild.
I don't know. A lot of, I don't know. Just.
Let me read that.
I'm trying to find the Chimera book that
I don't
had.
know.
I think I said you.
It says
that actually describes, actually shows pictures of some of the things you talk about.
Yeah, totally. It says, so it says, Satius informs us that among these same Ethiopians, there is an animal found which he called the manticora. It has a triple row of teeth, which fit in each other like those of a comb. The face and ears of a man, azure eyes, is the color of blood, has the body of the lion, and a tail ending is a sting like that of the scorpion. Its voice resembles the union of the sound of the flute and the trumpet. It is of excessive swiftness and is particularly fond of human flesh. Oh, I wonder why it just had such a desire to eat human flesh, and also had the face and the ears of the things they like to eat.
Yeah, it's really, really strange. It's like a pan almost, with a voice like a flute, and it
Trumpet.
almost seems like some of the, yeah, exactly. It almost seems like some of the descriptions of the locusts that come out of the pit too. Just the features of men, the locusts or the tails like a scorpion. Yeah.
And specifically how it says, and their tails in a sting like a scorpion, just like the Bible does. That sting in their tails like a sting, like the scorpions of the earth. You know, I did find that was super interesting. Now look at this Grabble 3 right here. Of course, the winged horse is an imaginary being, nor does it appear what is the origin of the fable. The horns are unusual appendage to the Pegasus. The Pegasus and the rhinoceros together may have given rise to that fabulous animal. Pride Week, oh God, hands up, everybody. The unicorn. See, however, the monosaurus mentioned in blah, 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 chapter 31. So, and then it says, although a hybrid animal is produced by the union of the wolf and the dog, it does not form a permanent species. But as Colvin remarks, by the insertion of the volvet, Penny seems to imply that the corcata unites the physical properties of the two animals. Whatever gives an account of the dog wolf, which Penny seems to have taken his corcata. So they're just saying, oh, they were talking about a dog wolf, just a dog, and a dog and a wolf had a child, and it was just this crazy thing. Like, that's what they're literally saying. They're literally saying Pileny just seems to took his corcata and went with it. He was just shooting from the hip.
Like, there's a lot more descriptions there than what you're throwing together.
Yeah, there's a lot of hand wave dismissing in here. Let's see here. Okay, right here. 8. This description of the manticora appears to be taken from the Indica of whatever. It has been also adopted by Aristotle and Aelian, but they have qualified their accounts by some expression of doubt, which are omitted by Pileny. It has been conjectured that Silius took his description from the hierological figures in his time, probably common in the East, and still found in the ruins of the Syrian and Persian cities, Nineveh and Persepolis, for instance. Oh, so they got these ideas from carvings on the walls that were there for how many ever extra years before they were? And they're like, oh, see, they're false because they just got these ideas from the people before them. But they made it up.
Just for finger painting.
Yeah.
They were just their finger painting stories, and then these guys were just like, they're like, yeah, we'll just make them a little more crazier and vicious and weird, and then that doesn't really. It makes more sense that they existed and that you're seeing two forms of storytelling here. You're seeing the pictures on the wall and the literature from somebody who's claiming to write all this down.
Yeah, it's almost like they're corroborating evidence. You know, it's like two people saying the stories that add together. All right, so we got one more of this, and again, guys, this is let me go back. This is Naturalis Historia. Check this out. You can Google that. There is so much gravy in these. each of these, like let's say if I go the natural history of the birds, this is all the stuff it has to talk about just birds. So again, why this guy would put all this work into it thousands and thousands of years ago, right? This was written in 77 AD. Why this guy would travel around and do all this account of all this information just to, to make it up, I don't know. Here's just a whole bunch of stuff about animals, guys. Just about about bugs, insects, trees, birds, insects, fishes, fruit trees, forest trees, cultivated trees, the history of grain. There's so much true information in this that has nothing to do with mythological stuff. Yet, guess what? This is all fake because he's talking about these fantastical creatures that that don't exist. We can't show you that this exists. Therefore, it's all made up.
Why would someone put so much into a collection of information that deals with such real world, creatures and plants, animals, insects, but then just, throw it all away by talking about such nonsense stories? I mean, it to me seems like it's pretty consistent. He was just whoever the author of all this is, just being serious the whole way through about everything he's writing down.
It's like that's his job, and like this is his like what he's gonna be known for, right? Like he's taking this work serious. He's not just throwing these random things together so that he makes a point that he knows is gonna get disproven. It really is illogical to me. It really is. Okay, I want to search for something real quick. Where'd that go? I may have accidentally closed it. I hope not. No, not that one. Okay, here's one. So, okay, we'll come back to that. Let me pull this up. So, okay. So we talked. This is obviously written in Greek, right? So this has a lot to do with in Latin. So it has a lot to do with Greece in that area. We saw the Pegasus. We saw a lot of these kind of ideas within that region, right? So like Kyle was saying, right? Like these, surely if it was just his imagination, then it wouldn't be anywhere else in the world, right? It would be in these localized areas that they would have these stories of these creatures. Surely there wouldn't be anywhere else in the world. So what's up?
I put something in table members that has
okay.
It's all pictures of a lot of the things you're describing from an old France. It's a very old book. They're actually pictures of things, of tree people, and just, I don't know if you can.
Yeah, that's loading right now. And I think that is going to go so perfect with what Kyle had to share, mixed with what we already had to share.
It has hands of a human and just all of that stuff that's described. So I hope they come up. I brought it up on pictures and then took the link. So
yeah, I have it loading up. So it's
I hope it works.
Yeah, we'll definitely show it. But so this is right. This is Africa. This has nothing. This is thousands of miles away from where these are happening. And this is kind of a longer video, but I want to show because, again, like think of some of the things we were just reading, some of the descriptions it was giving these creatures, and then keep those in mind while you watch this video, okay? And I think you might see some connections here. Again, even though that these are thousands and thousands of miles away. So even in Ethiopia to the bottom, tons of difference in distance. So we're going to play this video and then we'll see you here in a minute. So let's get this started.
A and welcome back to Wild Mythology. I welcome you to the channel with bread and salt. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about
That was my fault. I'm gonna let it, even though you can literally see that it's buffered, I'm gonna let it go a little bit and see if this works for us.
14 mythical creatures from African mythology. But before we get to that, don't forget to join our giveaway for the book Bullfinch's Mythology. All you have to do to join is subscribe and make a comment on this video. Plus, don't forget to comment on any other video I make this April. It gives you an extra chance to win. Now, on to the ferocious mythical creatures from Africa. Number 1. The were-hyena. Perhaps the most famous mythical creature from African mythology is the were-hyena, a creature similar but very different to the famous werewolf. Just as the werewolf transforms from human to wolf, the were-hyena transforms from human into hyena. But that's where the differences end. A were-hyena can also be a hyena that transforms into a human. Plus, in most myths, were-hyenas are able to transform at any time and don't need access to a full moon. Another difference is that werewolves are made while were-hyenas are born. While the werewolf curse is passed through numerous ways of infection, like a bite, the were-hyena gene is passed on from generation to generation. Hyenas and humans have had an imposing relationship dating back to the early humans of Africa, so it's not surprising that hyenas have been shaped as villains in myths and folklore. Were-hyenas have a gluttonous appetite and are usually solitary creatures that have a talent for luring people away from their homes by calling out with human voices. But they are known to sometimes hunt in packs. In fact, there was a town near Lake Chad in Central Africa that was believed to be entirely populated by were-hyenas. In Ethiopia, blacksmiths were traditionally thought to be were-hyenas and were referred to as Buddhas. Because blacksmiths worked with fire and had the power to melt and shape metal, it was thought that all blacksmiths could use magic and use that magic to transform into were-hyenas. It also didn't help that blacksmiths passed down their skills from generation to generation, making people think that magic infected a blacksmith's entire bloodline. According to Ethiopian legends, the Buddha were-hyenas were gravediggers that ate the rotting flesh of corpses and were forced to transform at night and then forced to transform back at dawn. Number 2. The Groot Slang. The Groot Slang is a legendary creature said to dwell in a deep cave called the Wonder Hole or the Bottomless Pit in Richardsveld, South Africa. The Groot Slang is said to take the form of a humongous serpent with the head of an elephant with great fangs coming out of its mouth. Additional descriptions have the legs of an elephant coming out of the front and back of the Groot Slang's serpent body. According to legend, the Groot Slangs were one of the first creations of the gods. But the gods made a mistake. They made the Groot Slangs too strong and smart and extremely cruel. The Groot Slangs went on a rampage, destroying and devouring everything in their path. Eventually, the gods had enough and decided to destroy the Groot Slangs by cutting them in half, thus creating the first elephants and the first snakes. But legend has it that one Groot Slang was able to get away, and then it made its home in the Wonder Hole. There it hides, hoarding diamonds and precious jewels, while it devours elephants it lures inside its cave.
Oh, a creature made by the gods that devoured everything and hoarded treasure like a dragon?
Yeah, likening it to yeah, exactly. Once again.
Anyone foolish enough to enter is never seen ever again. Number 3. The Kongamato. The Kongamato is supposedly a pterodactyl-like creature living in the Congo, Zambia, and the Angola areas of Africa. The locals have described it as a reddish lizard with membranous wings, sharp jagged teeth in its beak, and a wingspan ranging from 5 to 15 feet. It It's well known for dive bombing the canoes of the natives and either capsizing the boats or breaking them. While its diet consists of mostly fish, the Kangamato will have no problem attacking humans. According to legend,
Pretty interesting that this just so happens to look like a dinosaur. Apparently, it didn't get the memo when the asteroid hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Kangamato will dig up human grave.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that's pretty similar. I almost wonder if they just used that artwork for a reason, but nonetheless, you make the connection there. How many of these supposed dinosaur fossils that might actually exist are just these creatures?
Yeah, and that they would find soft tissue if creatures like this only exist a couple thousand years ago.
That's right.
They're wanting you to talk like the narrator, Vader.
Oh, like this? Is this how they want me to talk? I don't know. I'll have to listen to more. Maybe I can imitate them.
And eat rotting corpses.
Rotting corpses.
Number 4, the Impundulu.
Number 4,
the
the
Impundulu,
Impundulu.
also known as the lightning bird, is a mythical creature from the tribes of South Africa. According to legend,
Now, we're not going to get into this much because it's coming soon. It's kind of closer to the next one and then the next one. But Native Americans also have a thunderbird, consequently.
the Impundulu is a creature that is able to summon thunder and lightning with a beat of its wings. Apparently, the creature only shows its true form to women. Men only see the Impundulu as lightning in the shape of a bird, but women see the Impundulu as a black and white hammertop, the size of a person. It's also able to transform into a handsome man, allowing it to seduce young women.
Ooh. So this bird can transform into a man, a handsome man, and seduce women. Where have we heard this before?
Nephilim or fallen angel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
As well as being a creature of lightning, it's also a vampiric creature with a deep love for blood. When the Impundulu is in its bird form, it feeds from other birds. But when the Impundulu is in its human form, it feeds from other humans. The Impundulu are usually the familiars of witches and witch doctors, and because Impundulu are immortal, they are passed down through a witch's family from mother to daughter.
Immortal. Are you?
I just like saying Impundulu. The Impundulu.
He stops it. Vader stops it. You must be on mute.
No.
He must.
No, I took a drink of water and it went down the wrong pipe.
Oh.
Well, you know when that happens.
No, so I was just going to say, interesting, right? When it's a bird, it goes after birds. When it's a human, it eats humans. It's also known as the familiar spirits to witch doctors. And the familiar spirit is passed from generation to generation.
Oh my.
This makes them viewed as evil creatures. Impundulu have been said to cause sickness when a witch orders it to, but they can also be quite useful if one knows the bird's secrets. The fat of an Impundulu can be used for important healing medicine, and the feathers can be used to track down another human. According to legend, the only weakness of an Impundulu is fire, a weakness that many have exploited so that they can acquire the bird's fat and feathers.
Kryptonite.
Number 5. Kishi. The Kishi is a two-faced creature from Angola, Africa. At first sight, a Kishi seems to look like an extremely handsome man with a charming personality that lures in any woman he meets.
He does.
But what the women don't realize is that they are being drawn into a trap. Because on the back of a Kishi's head, there is another face that lies in wait. The face of a hyena that has unbreakable jaws. Once the kishi charms a woman, it will usually take its victim to a secluded place and lean in for a kiss. When the woman begins to lean in, the kishi turns around, revealing its hyena face. A hyena face will then bite into the woman with its strong jaws, and while the woman will scream and try to get away, she'll find that it's impossible. Once the
I gotta show. So I gotta do something real quick. And turn this on. It's like when this dude is like, yeah, come this way. Just please don't look at the back of my head. Just go this way, ma'am. I can't have you looking at the back of my head.
Easy.
hyena face bites down, it is impossible to break its hold. There is another version of the story where the kishi will first have a child with a woman and then eat her after she has given birth. The kishi will then take its child away and teach it the ways of human devouring. Number 6, Agamuksa.
Okay, just real quick, isn't it interesting how these have a lot to do with women and impregnate them and or tricking them and being a handsome man and getting the woman to go away? Like, it's not just one story, it's multiple of the stories, right? And so why is that? It seems like that's a traumatic thing that these people have gone through at some point, does it not?
It does.
The Agamuksa, also called the Bushmen, are creatures of legend from the Khoi people in South Africa. The creature is human in appearance, with the exception of having eyes on its face. Instead, the Agamuksa have their eyes on the soles of their feet. The Agamuksa is a man-eating creature that enjoys hunting travelers in the desert. Because of the unique placement of their eyes, the Agamuksa have become extremely well adapted to running on their hands. That doesn't mean they won't chase their prey on foot, though. The best way to escape an Agamuksa is to run in a different direction once it starts chasing you on foot. It will eventually have to stop and flip on its hands so its eyes can find you. Number 7, the Nandi bear. The Nandi bear is a creature from folklore of the Nandi people in western Kenya. It's described as a huge creature mixed between a bear and a hyena with red fur, a sloped, shaggy back, and front shoulders over 5 feet high. It's a dangerous and ferocious creature with a love for eating livestock and people by smashing open their heads and eating their brains. It also enjoys scalping humans. The Nandi bear is generally nocturnal and will climb, smash, and force its way through barriers and huts to get at its food. Legend has it that the Nandi bear lets out a terrible howl, and that when it stands on its hind legs, it towers over every animal in Africa, except for the giraffe. Sightings of the creature began in the early 17th century and continued up until 1998, where the last sighting took place. Number 8, the Popobawa. The Popobawa is an evil shapeshifter that inhabits the island of Pemba off the coasts of Tanzania. While a Popobawa takes on many forms ranging from human to animal, its favorite form is a half-man, half-bat-like creature with a single eye. Legend has it that the Popobawa is an extremely cruel and fame-seeking creature. At night, Popobawa will transform into his man-bat form and attack entire families, assaulting every man, woman, and child. When he feels especially cruel, he will sodomize the men and women, and then warn them that he will be back for more if they don't spread the word about what he had done.
Weird. Some more
Amazing
things that they face. What were you going to say, brother?
I was just gonna say it's amazing how they all seem to like have this shape shifting. Not all of them, but this shape shifting quality that we've been seeing over and over again. And then right at the end there, started mentioning some of the other unnatural aspects of, you know, demonic influence, I would say. It's not in the natural order for things to be sodomites.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that, again, think about the trauma, right? Like, these people aren't just making these things up for no reason, in my honest opinion. These are things they saw, dealt with, and told these stories down the line, right? So they know, hey, watch out for these things because they'll trick you. They'll say, hey, come here, but they're actually these things. And it's like, I know this is kind of like scary movies and stuff like that, but if you really think about it, if these creatures existed and like it keeps showing that they have a propensity for killing humans and eating them, if these creatures existed and did those things, you would never know about it, right? It would be the horror movie where everyone dies and the story goes on. The beast is still at large. And so I personally think these things, not specifically these as they're described perfectly, but things like this definitely still do exist on Earth. And we're seeing accounts and accounts and accounts of all these different ideas that we talked about from the Greek side and more up north. And now we're looking at Africa. But yeah, it's there's so many of them, and they're so similar in specifically distinct ways. So yeah, let's finish this out.
Popobawa then leaves the house and goes on to the next one. He also takes personal offense to people who don't believe in him and attacks them with great passion. As well as being able to shapeshift, Popobawa is able to possess humans and speak through them, as well as paralyze his victims if they stare long enough into his eye. The best way to know if someone is a Popobawa is if they smell heavily of sulfur. Number 9, the Tokoloshi. From Zulu mythology in South Africa, we get the Tokoloshi, small mischievous creatures that are usually associated with witches and malevolent witch doctors. While having many descriptions, the Tokoloshi are always small, with some describing them as gremlin-like and others giving them a primate-like description. They usually have long bony claws and are said to have gouged out eyes and sometimes a hole in their foreheads. Legend has it that they are sent by evil witch doctors into people's homes during the night to cause mayhem. The Tokoloshi's actions could range from simply frightening its victim, to biting off a person's toes, to strangling a person in their sleep. The only way to avoid a Tokoloshi is to have your bed raised high enough off the ground. Many people used to sleep on top of grass mats that laid on the floor, giving easy access to the Tokoloshi. But with a bed, say, raised on bricks, the Tokoloshi wouldn't be able to reach the sleeping human. A Tokoloshi is created when a jealous person has a grudge for someone. The jealous person would go to a witch doctor requesting their help, and the witch doctor would find a dead body. They would then stake the eye sockets and braid with an iron rod and then sprinkle a special substance on the body to make it shrink and transform into a Tokoloshi. The Tokoloshi would then go terrorize the jealous person's target, but afterwards would take a soul of a member of that jealous person's family.
Okay, something I want to stop on really quick is this specific one, because it seems kind of preposterous. Last week, remember, we kind of dabbled in the golem, right? And so that is kind of a point, guys, that we're trying, like a point that I kind of want y'all to think about is the desire of men, and definitely men that don't have the heart towards, after the fathers, would have a desire to create creations like this, like the golem and various other ones. And as we saw in the book of Enoch, how specifically they taught the Watchers, being the Watchers, taught mankind all of this information that we saw brought it to where the world had evil thoughts only continuously. So that information, that bizarre things, like, I know we're looking at this thing as like, oh my God, what are we talking about here? Maybe you're flipping onto the channel for the first time. Maybe you skipped ahead to this picture. But what my point is these things in our kind of mindset should be makeable, should be something that was created. And that's kind of the point. These are not natural things. These are abominations of various of creations that have the reason why these stories existed, why they kind of pull on our spiritual heartstrings, if you will, is because in some way, shape, or form, we know things like this are true, and that our world is much more magical than it is led to be from this materialistic, nihilistic, atheistic view of the world that, you know, we're basically in complete opposition again. So of course, an atheist, someone who is a materialistic, said these are just stories, peoples. Guys, this stuff doesn't really happen. We would be able to scientifically prove it. But of course, these things aren't happening in the open. They are happening in deep, dark places and dark corners of underground facilities all across the face of the earth. And that's my personal opinion. So any thoughts to that before we keep chugging along?
No, I'm in chat. There's too much going on there.
Kyle, Robert, anything?
I think you summed it up pretty well. I think the alchemical side of these creatures is as real as like them being, you know, born generation after generation somehow. Some of these creatures seem to be made differently than other ones is all I mean. Like specifically this requires taking the body of a dead human and doing some sort of alchemical spell on them and turning them into a vessel.
Yeah. For an unclean spirit, right? That has this desire to do pain and yeah, absolutely.
What's the time frame that these are supposed to be? Is this before the flood, after the flood?
So I think after the flood. Personally, I think before the flood and after the flood, I think there are similar creatures. I think they were able to, let's say, take the recipes and follow the recipes and recreate things that were pre-flood. But I also think that they took those technologies and kind of made their own. They kind of, you know, changed it up. You know,
I think we might have been doing like a trial and myth, you know. They maybe wanted to try and get something. They got something different.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows the kind of process they went through, but it definitely seemingly they believe it, you know what I mean? And we're just saying, oh, these are just dumb people within, you know. We're talking about the same Ethiopians that have had the Book of Enoch in their possession for a long time, right? So this is specifically South African, but all of the first of all these creatures within, you know, Ethiopia, and then we got within the Ethiopian Bible, we got the Book of Enoch describing these things. So to me, I think it's such a beautiful connection. But let's finish this off, and then we'll
Tokoloshi continued to terrorize the same house or person.
After, so
The benevolent witch doctor called a Sangoma was called in to purify the home and its inhabitants. What makes the Tokoloshi especially scary is its ability to turn invisible. When it swallows a stone, it becomes completely invisible to everyone but the witch doctor controlling it. Imagine being strangled by something you couldn't even see. Number 10, the Krokata. The Krokata is a creature from Ethiopian legend and is the offspring of a male hyena and a female lioness. The Krokata is the size of a donkey with the backside of a stag, the chest, the neck, and tail of a lion, a badger's head, a horse's mane, and cloven hoofs. Its fur looks somewhat like a spotted hyena, and its mouth opens from ear to ear, showing a dreadful smile of sharp, bony teeth. The Krokata also has the ability to mimic the voices of humans. It will usually trick a human by calling out for help using a panicky voice. The human will then rush to help the desperate voice, only to realize that they have become a Krakata's meal. It also uses the same technique to trick dogs into thinking they're being called by their owners. Number 11. Chipfalamphula. Chipfalamphula is a colossal fish creature from Ranga Bantu legends. It has complete control over water and can either be favorable towards people by providing long rains for crops, or disastrous by summoning floods and causing droughts. Legend has it that the fish is so large that an entire town lives within its stomach. The town has an endless supply of livestock, is surrounded by land that is eternally fertile, and is filled with people who are at the peak of happiness. The legend goes on to tell the tale of a young girl who is almost drowned by her older sister. Luckily for her, Chipfalamphula finds her and invites her to live within its stomach. Agreeing, the young girl spends the next couple of years within the great fish. She eventually comes out of the fish to confront her elder sister, but finds that she has changed. Any human that spends time within the great fish's stomach goes through a metamorphosis. Their skin becomes silver scales, and their features more fish-like. Number 12. The Nunda. The Nunda, or Mongwa, is a deadly mythological cat creature from Tanzania. It's been described as a leopard with gray and brindled fur, but bigger than any known lion. It's famously known as the eater of people, mostly because tales from fishing villages tell of men and women being brutally maimed and devoured by the beast. There's also an old legend about a sultan who finds a Nunda cub and decides to keep it. Over the years, the Nunda grows bigger and bigger and continues to eat the livestock of both the sultan and his people. When people begin to complain about the cat, the sultan brushes them off, telling them that he owns everything in his kingdom and so does not need to pay them back. Eventually, though, the cat eats 3 of the sultan's sons, making the sultan come to his senses. So he sends his remaining sons to kill the beast, only for each of them to die. Luckily, the youngest son survives and kills the beast with his spear. Other legends say that the Nunda is a poisonous creature and that its very breath can kill a man in an instant. Number 13. The Adze. In West Africa, the Ewe people have a legend about a blood-sucking creature that is able to take the form of both an insect and a human. The creature's name is Adze, and it becomes a firefly or mosquito when it takes its insect form. As an insect, Adze is able to fly through keyholes, under doors, and cracks in the walls of homes. Once inside, Adze will search for a sleeping human and suck out some of their blood, causing the human to fall incredibly ill and potentially die. If an Adze is ever captured in its insect form, it will instantly transform into its human form. In Adze's human form, they gain the ability to possess other humans. Once possessed, the Adze will usually harm its host's family, or a person its host feels jealousy towards. Those who are possessed by an Adze are called an Abasum, or a witch. Number 4.
Isn't it interesting? Like, different cultural representations, but we got some very similar language and ideas going on.
14. Inkanyamba. Zulu people have a legend about creatures called Inkanyamba, giant snake/eel creatures with the head of a horse and the ability to control the weather and fly. Inkanyamba are said to live around the Howick Falls in South Africa, and according to legend are incredibly vicious, territorial, and are able to produce terrible storms when angry. There have been many sightings of 2 Inkanyamba fighting in water over territory, causing great destruction in their wake. During the summer, it's thought that Inkanyamba migrate, causing hail and storms as they fly away. Legend also has it that when a male Inkanyamba is looking for a mate, it will cause a giant tornado until it finds one.
Alrighty, so that's it of the video. I think there was a whole bunch of great examples You saw a lot of drinking in blood. They can change into humans. They trick people. They can possess people. They can make people do bad things when they are possessed. We got the sexual elements, that we saw, and it's just so much connection over and over. We're going to go through this really quick. This is from The Guardian. I thought this was really cool that they put it together. Obviously, they're saying this is all, the world's most storied legendary creatures, right? So this is all just stories, guys. But just to kind of go through some is kind of this was a cool web page at least. It says trolls, fairies, centaurs, oh my. Says every culture has its own gaggle, and this is The Guardian, they're admitting it. Every culture has its own gaggle of monsters and beings residing in traditional tales. Versions of some creatures, such as the prolific fairy, populate stories across multiple cultures and countries. Others, meanwhile, are born to a single region. Places get the monsters they deserve. It is that simple, Young says. A hunter-gatherer community will have boogies connected to the chase. So, of course, they're going to derive it all. This is just all made up to kind of give us, stories within stories. These weren't materialistic real things. So trolls, fairies, and centaurs are all of part of these things that are all over in different type of cultures. And this map was really cool. We're going to stay away from this because this is what we're going to be talking about next week. Line up with what else we're going to talk about if you can kind of think about the months and what's coming up. But over here, this is pretty cool. So over here, we got the Tro. This mischievous sprite or fairy is generally depicted as grotesque and short in stature. Stories tell of how trolls, being nocturnal creatures, emerging from their mounds only at night and breaking into homes as the owners sleep. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. We got Banshee, Ireland, also Scotland. It says, you don't want to hear the wailing screams of this woman in white, thought to be a fairy or spirit. It is said that hearing a banshee mournfully cry heralds the death of a family member. We got a kobold here. It says, according to German folklore, kobolds are domestic spirits that can assist with household chores, but are also mischievous, often hiding things and knocking people over. In other stories, kobolds are gnomes who live underground in mines and caves. Up here we got the Kraken. In Nordic folklore, the fearsome giant squid-like sea monster would capsize entire ships by wrapping its powerful tentacles around it. Legend has it that the Kraken, with its affinity for flesh, can devour a ship's crew in a single gulp. Oh, more people eating. We talked about this when we did that one episode with the Naturalist Historia. We read about the basilisk. It says, known as the king of the serpents, the basilisk is said to have the power to kill any living creature with its fatal gaze and wither vegetables only using its breath. We got another breath thing there going on. We got merfolk. Merfolk. Oh, ancient Babylon, ancient Greece, Far East region. Legend of mermaids and mermen, magical half-human, half-fish creatures who inhabit the world's oceans, date back to ancient times, and they're not always malevolent. In Greek folklore, mermaids, sometimes called sirens, often lured sailors to their deaths with their mesmerizing melodies. And guess what else they would also try to get them in to do? And then we got the griffin. We kind of talked about that earlier. It says, living at region Middle East, it says, as with many mythological creatures, the griffin is a composite of animals, a lion's body with the head of the wings of an eagle or falcon. They are often depicted as guardians of buried treasure and also represent strength and valor. We got dragons, depending on who's telling the tale, right? Multiple, ancient Mesopotamia, Europe, China. Dragons have a diverse set of characteristics throughout history. In the West, the world dragger conjures up images of a formidable winged fire-breathing reptile, one that a hero typically tries to defeat. We got the Quinlan In Chinese mythology, the rare appearance of this peaceful one-horned creature. Remember how we were reading about one-horned creatures? Usually coincided with the birth or death of a benevolent or sage ruler. The beast is sometimes called a Chinese unicorn and symbolized prosperity and good fortune. We got the kappa from Japan. So we got, the amphibious kappa by its scaly green skin, the tortoise-like shell on its back, and the bowl of water on its head, which it derives strength. Very humanistic kind of looking, though. These inhabitants of rivers and ponds and swamps and can be dangerous and playful, either attacking unlucky swimmers or challenging to a sumo wrestling match. Okay, did we get these? Okay, yep. And then all the way on the other side of the face of the earth, we got in Australia. It says the bunyip. Says the mythical creature hails from the Aboriginal folklore, calls the swamps and lagoons of the Australian home. Some accounts describe the bunyip as having a face resembling a dog and a clawed flippers, with a appetite for human flesh. Interesting, more human flesh desire.
Was that a turtle that would do sumo wrestling with you?
The kappa?
Yeah.
It's not a girl. It's like a turtle.
Said a turtle.
Kinda, yeah.
Sumo wrestling. Okay.
Yeah. So, a quick couple things and we'll get to... Okay, so this is just a list of mythological humanoids. So things that aren't just pure animals, but things that are also connected with humans. And if you look, guys, this is a huge list. It's Africa, Asia, Europe, lots of Europe. We got Australia and other, right? That's all humanoid. Now, this is a list of 11 legendary creatures, literally from all across the earth. This is insane. This is the amount of these stories. Why is there so many stories? Why is there so many accounts of these things? It's almost as if it's not just a whole bunch of people making up a whole bunch of things, but things that people have made have had experiences of and wrote about and talked about. Why would it be so much from all around the world of all of these different types of mythical creatures? They're not just stories, guys. They're not. Now, how does that affect us? I feel like we'll get more into that next week. But of course, knowing that our world is magical is pretty important. And, I'm going to just give a little bit. Native Americans right here in our backyard, they still believe these things are still around, right? Bigfoot is a big thing nowadays. Of course, we're going to talk about that more again next week. But okay, that's the last thing we're going to play. I want to show y'all's thing because I think it connects so well. Okay, so what Marcia is showing here, and I'm going to see if it will... I don't remember if it pulls it up per page or what.
Oh, it should, but I don't know whether it will on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go, guys. We got some interesting looking things to see. Okay, there we go. So we got this. Let's keep going. Oh, we got this pretty weird. Oh, that's pretty weird, right? Multiple eyes. One eye, got this big lip. That could just be, one of the things, but that's definitely multiple eyes. One eye. We got this bird-looking thing. That's pretty weird. It's all backwards. Got these face hair like women. Like we see this today, right? So we know this is something right here, right? We've seen this today. So they put real stuff in it, and then the next page, it's fake. Next page is fake. Next page is fake. Next page, it's fake. All of this is all fake. But that one, they put one thing in there. The satire. We've never heard of these before, have we? So just going through them, yeah, these are, the humanoids that people have described, have talked about from various cultures across the world, and this is just another set of them. Now, am I saying, or are we saying that all of this is exactly as described and it's perfectly what it is? We weren't there. We don't know. But what we do know is we're saying, look at all of this information. Why would they have so much information if it was all just fantastical? You know, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, you know.
Well, that's manipulation, gene manipulation. It said in the Bible that they even, the insects, the plant life, they even have tree people in here. I mean, they were mixing genes like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we are too.
And I think before we close it out with this little video, I think this is where we need to talk about, right? So this is a map, an Italian map from 1587. And as you see, right, it looked very much like the AE map, right? Now, none of us are claiming it's 100% correct, and is nothing like we don't know. We just know right now, past the 60th south parallel, we can't privately and independently explore. But very interesting, if you zoom into this map and you kind of scroll along, right? So just looking at it, right? This is kind of the United States. We've got South America. We got Africa here, and then, you know, going up into Europe, and then going up into Russia, and then down into China, right? And then Australia is over here. But let's look at this, guys. Let's zoom in here. And let me find one. Oh.
Yeah, it'll depict chimeras that are in the area.
Interesting. Well, let's look at the ocean real quick, right?
Oh,
we
Yeah,
got boats.
around the southern.
Okay, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I was just saying around like what would be is Antarctica is got some crazy stuff all the way around.
Got here. Look,
Yep.
here's a mermaid. We just saw that in the pictures.
Yep.
That in that little book that Marcia showed. I'm seeing. Will it let me? I have to like zoom in and out. I think. Can I? Oh, okay, I can move it that way. Can I move it this way? I can zoom in out that way. Okay, I found it. Okay, so we got a camel, right? We all believe in camels. We think that camels possibly do exist in Africa, right? So they definitely got this. Oh wait, what's this over here? Let's take. Oh
my!
I guess they just added this because, you know, it was like, we got to put something there, right? So let's just add this random thing that has nothing to do. But we'll put also real things that possibly could exist, right? Oh, wait, no, that's impossible. That's Antarctica. We're freely allowed to go there. Oh, look, more.
There's more of them.
Oh, there's more of them.
It looks like this. Looks like Starbucks.
Yeah, it looks like Starbucks.
Okay, let's oh, weird. We got some type of big reptiles. There's some weird things going on here with the white monkey men. Didn't we talk about some type of ape that were like white? Huh, interesting. Oh, what's this over here? It looks like a donkey or with some wings and like a scorpion tail or something. Huh. Let's go down here. What's over here? Some crazy giants.
Oh, look at that up at the top right there. There's a bird holding an elephant. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. And do you see what this says right here? Giganti. Giganti. Ooh, but that's of course fake, because we know that in South America they have no llamas like this. They don't have any alpacas that look like this and known for that. Gosh, come on, guys. You know, there's no such thing as an owl, right? There's no such thing as, like, you know, a bird holding an elephant. That's obvious. Dude, this is intense, right? Like,
that guy.
Like, how do they explain this stuff? Like, they draw these, they just did this all for fun, just to. And why is it so accurate? If this was from 1587 and they thought the world was a globe, like, how did they get this so well done on a globe?
Yeah, how'd they know where, you know, all of the continents were and all these little islands and, You know, the entire coastline of, you know, Antarctica, yeah, the north, exactly, as depicted in other maps.
How dare you? How dare you? And so this is kind of like the brief thing. Like, this isn't just a new just a new idea. It is a quote unquote new idea. But this type of these creatures, this idea of these mythological creatures has been around for a long time, guys. And we see that again through all the different cultures, all their different representations, and all their similarities as well. And so, why does that matter? Well, again, we're going to talk about it more next week when we talk about. I named it mythical creatures, so it's modern stuff. But let's check this out. Let's see what these people got to say real quick.
Plans to allow scientists to create embryos that are part human and part animal are set for approval by the official regulator in Britain. These hybrid embryos are seen by the country's leading scientists as a vital step in the search for cures for diseases such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. It's a highly controversial procedure and is banned in some European countries. Our medical correspondent Fergus Walsh has the story.
This embryo is part mouse, part cow. In a few months, this Newcastle lab is hoping to create a human-cow hybrid. If that leaves you uneasy, the scientists here understand how you feel.
It does seem a little abhorrent from a first analysis, that the fact that we're mixing bits of cow cells with bits of human cells, and people would automatically think, yeah, well, okay. But what you have to understand is that we're actually using very, very little information from the cow in order to do this reprogramming idea.
This is highly complex science, the creation of cytoplasmic hybrids, known as cybrid embryos. The starting point is a cow's egg, which is cut open by a laser. The DNA is sucked out. The next step is to take a human cell, perhaps from a patient with Parkinson's disease, and inject it into the egg. Now, this is the crucial point at which an embryo is created, because by using an electric shock, the hybrid embryo starts growing, the cells subdividing.
Oh, okay, sorry. I was not talking. All right, get rid of that. One thing I want to kind of bring up real quick is, isn't it? Oh, I'm getting feedback from someone. Oh, Marcia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
So one part I want to talk about is, remember, I know Kyle, you probably remember when we were talking about, like, was there a divine spark from God there for these creations, or was it something that they were able to kind of create? And so that kind of implies that they can do it without God. And so maybe that is part of it. There is no divine spark of God, therefore that's why it's abomination, because they're doing it without sight of God. And so it's like, maybe, yeah, they actually can create life, right? But it's an abomination. I think about that as a possibility. So, sweet. Okay, that's it. That's all we got to share. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. We will be doing the after show here in a handful of minutes. I'll post that for everyone in the chat, or someone can post that for me in chat if you would like, and if you'd like to join. Anyways, all right, let's say our goodbyes and our final thoughts. We'll throw it over to Marcia. What do you think, sister?
Goodbye, everybody. It's been enjoyable. It was a fun chat again. It's an interesting subject, that's for sure. But the chimeras and the things that people were just stories, they're real. They're real. You're muted.
I completely agree. And again, even though we don't have any, like, here's a
You're
skeleton.
muted. Okay, sorry, cutting out then.
Fading.
Was I
I
cutting?
was talking for a second.
You're fading.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were talking for a second, that just cut off.
Weird. Okay, sorry. That totally made me lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
I said they were real.
Yeah, I forget. I apologize. Well, yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and yeah, it's awesome to always have you and kind of get your thoughts out there when you give them. So thanks for being here, sister. We'll throw it over to you, Robert, for your goodbyes as well as your closing thoughts, or vice versa.
Yeah, the mythological creatures. I'm with Marsha. I don't think maybe not 100% real, but I don't think it's totally fantasy. I think that there's some truth behind the myth. Just want to throw out there though too, as I'm looking over here at the YouTube, and I see we've got it was 12, now it says 10 people. And I look over here at the lighthouse, and I see it's saying 42 viewers.
Oh, it's almost like we're not being grabbled right now.
Oh, Grabbler tube.
It's almost like better is here.
Almost.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Robert. Thanks for showing up. When you did, we always love to have you, even if it was a little bit later than normal. So, sweet. We'll throw it over to you, Kyle. What's your thoughts, and give us your goodbyes.
Yeah, it was good to be here as well. This was awesome. I thought we did a good job covering that most of these creatures seem very unnatural, that there's too much detail for them to just be pure coincidence and stories. I would say that they're not created in the minds of men, as in they just pure fantasy, but they probably are created by men in some genetic experiment somehow, passed on by the Watchers. And I think we got plenty of scripture evidence. I think we got plenty of physical evidence, and there's books and illustrations that go back thousands of years that depict these things everywhere. I'm convinced. I don't need any more convincing as far as that goes. Which ones exist in particular, I don't know. I would say definitely the dragon or a centaur, but some of the other ones were kind of crazy. But you never know. You really never know what the length of what they're capable of doing is. So
yeah,
with that said,
and the sadistic minds of the Watchers and their children, right?
Exactly.
Like, isn't it interesting that they all had a propensity to want to hurt humans and eat them and sleep with them? Like, little creepy creatures here, and we're looking at the Bible, and it's talking about creepy creatures. Yeah, exactly. It's obviously connected. Sweet, awesome. Well, thank you for all those that came, whether you're on Circle of the Earth Fellowship YouTube or Take on the World YouTube, especially those over on Lighthouse. Again, a big shout out to Tracy Jones for doing that level 1 membership and throwing the community $5. On YouTube, when we get to 2,000, so every double, we did 500 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, and so at 2,000 subscribers, we're gonna do another giveaway. We first gave away a shofar, then we gave away a Sefer Bible. If you have an idea for something you think would be cool to do it as a giveaway, that's a super easy idea for a comment. Just leave it in any of the videos of what you think we should give away. Of course, if you have any ideas about the topic of the episode itself, we'd love to hear it in the comments below. Remember, we are going to read those next stream, so if you want to throw in your 2 cents, that's a good way to do it, and it supports the channel. Costs you nothing but a few seconds, couple minutes if you want to spell check it. So thank you again for everyone being here. See you tomorrow, Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern, for the Peace Seekers episode. Part 3 of the reading of the Book of Enoch. Check that out if you're interested. And if you haven't checked out Lighthouse, definitely hop over there, make an account, follow us. And until next time, remember, guys, that Abba loved you first. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Switch, you infernal machine. All right, everybody, you ready for the party? Here we go. And remember, dig deep.
Sean's on right now.
Oh, hi, Sean. Well,
No.
oh, live. Okay. Well, we'll see
Yeah,
you over
live.
at the Sean's. We'll see you over on Sean's stream, everybody.
He said he was going to be live at 11, and he is.
Oh.
But it didn't get bumped.
Well, we're eventually, when this thing loads, we're totally gonna say goodbye completely. But until that happens, y'all will be watching this beautiful, terrible animation that I made.
Oh.
You know, Vader, I joined over at Lighthouse. Can you tell me whether, because I joined Kingdom in Context and everybody else.
There we go. Dig deep. 5 born at a time. Frankie B. Nick Affinity.
You give us the honor to search a matter. You raise up a standard to beat back our enemy. You establish this realm, and like a scroll you spread it out.